They say crackers are fake food, that they're pure carbohydrates pressed into shape, that they spike your blood sugar, dry your stomach, and slowly destroy digestion. Some people call them empty calories. Others say they're worse than bread because they look harmless. Something you eat without noticing, something that never fills you up. Crackers. Thin, dry, light. The snack you grab when you don't want a real meal. The food that feels safe, clean, almost medical. But what if that feeling is exactly the problem? Because crackers are not as innocent as they look, and they're not as stupid as people think. Here's the conflict nobody talks about. If crackers are just flour and salt, why are they eaten all over the world? Why do armies use them? Why do hospitals serve them? Why do they survive wars, famines, and long journeys? Junk food doesn't do that. Accidents don't do that. So what if crackers are not a mistake? What if they're not fake food? What if they're one of the most underestimated survival inventions in human history? To understand crackers, you have to stop thinking like a modern consumer and start thinking like someone who doesn't know when their next meal is coming. Crackers were never meant to excite you. They were designed to last, to stay edible, to be predictable. And that goal shaped everything about them. This story doesn't begin in a factory. It begins with scarcity, with people who didn't have fresh bread every day, with sailors crossing oceans, soldiers marching for weeks, families trying to stretch grain for as long as possible. Bread spoiled too fast. Fresh food was unreliable, moisture was the enemy. So humans made food dry, extremely dry. When you remove moisture, bacteria slow down. Mold stops spreading, time stretches. Crackers are bread stripped of comfort. No softness, no warmth. Just structure, just calories that wait. And that's why they look the way they do. Thin, hard, sometimes almost tasteless. Every design choice has a purpose. Thin dough bakes faster. Fast baking removes water. Removing water creates shelf life. Shelf life creates safety. This wasn't elegance, it was desperation. And here's where the myth starts. Modern people eat crackers casually and assume they were designed casually. They weren't. Crackers are engineered to be boring on purpose. Boring food is stable food. Stable food doesn't rot. Stable food doesn't betray you. But boredom has a side effect. It lowers your guard. You don't respect crackers. You don't count them. You don't feel full from them. You eat a few, then a few more. And because they're dry and light, your brain underestimates them. No chewing resistance, no strong flavor, no alarm. And suddenly the safe snack becomes invisible calories. This is where fear sneaks back in. People start blaming ingredients, white flour, salt, additives, chemicals. They want a villain they can point at, but the truth is more uncomfortable. Crackers are not dangerous because of what they contain. They're dangerous because of what they don't. They lack friction. They lack volume. They lack signals that tell your body to stop. Think of crackers like fuel pellets. Compact, dry, efficient, easy to store, easy to consume. Your body doesn't panic when you eat them. It barely notices. And that's the trap. So when people say crackers are empty, they're half right. Not nutritionally empty, behaviorally empty. They don't demand attention. They don't force awareness. They slide into habits quietly. And here's the twist. Crackers were never meant to be snacks. They were meant to be insurance. Insurance against hunger, against spoilage, against uncertainty. Somewhere along the way, we took survival food and turned it into background food. Something eaten while distracted. Something paired with stress, work, screens. And that's when the design stopped matching the context. So, before we decide whether crackers are harmless or harmful, we need to answer a deeper question. What actually happens to the body when you eat dry, fast, low-moisture food repeatedly? And why does something designed for survival behave so strangely in a modern world full of abundance? Because once you understand the science behind dryness, starch, and speed, crackers stop being boring. They become unsettling. Now, let's talk about what actually happens the moment crackers enter your body, because this is where most myths completely fall apart. People think crackers are dangerous because they're empty carbs, because they spike blood sugar, Because they turn into sugar instantly. That sounds logical. It's also incomplete. Crackers are mostly starch, but starch doesn't act alone. What matters is form, speed, water. Crackers are dry by design, and dryness changes everything. When you chew them, they don't arrive in your stomach as a slow, bulky mass like bread or potatoes. They arrive fragmented, light, already broken down. And then they do something very specific. They pull water. Think of crackers like a sponge. The moment they hit moisture, they absorb it fast. Saliva, stomach fluids, they swell. That swelling feels like fullness, but it's a trick. It's mechanical, not nutritional. Your stomach feels something, but your blood hasn't received anything yet. So your brain stays alert, hungry, waiting. This is where crackers behave differently from real meals. Meals slow digestion. Crackers accelerate it. Once hydrated, starch breaks down quickly into glucose. Not explosively, but efficiently. The energy comes fast and leaves fast. No fiber to slow it. No protein to anchor it. No fat to stretch the signal. Just a clean, quiet rise and fall. And here's the myth people get wrong. Crackers don't spike blood sugar because they're evil. They do it because they're efficient. They were designed to deliver calories with minimal effort. That was the point. Soldiers didn't need pleasure, they needed predictability. Sailors didn't need fullness, they needed energy that wouldn't rot. But modern bodies don't live in survival mode. They live in repetition. Snack after snack. Day after day. And this is where the danger shifts. The problem is not one serving of crackers. It's how easily servings disappear. Crackers don't fight back. They don't slow you down. They don't ask questions. They let you eat while distracted, stressed, or bored. And the body learns from repetition, not intention. People blame crackers for weight gain, but the truth is subtler. Crackers don't make you eat more later because they're unhealthy. They make you eat more later because they don't resolve hunger properly. They postpone it. They whisper instead of answering. Now let's kill another myth. People think crackers are loaded with chemicals, preservatives, artificial junk. But crackers don't need much help to survive. Their biggest preservative is dryness. Bacteria need water. Mold needs water. Crackers remove it. That's why some crackers can last for months without anything dramatic added. The real science here isn't scary, it's boring. And boring science is dangerous because people ignore it. Dry food passes quickly. Fast digestion encourages repetition. Repetition creates habits. Habits shape health. So when someone says crackers are bad because they're just carbs, they're missing the point. Plenty of foods are carbs. The question is how fast they enter the system and how quietly they leave it. Crackers don't attack the body. They slip past it. And that's why they're so common in hospitals, in emergency kits, in survival rations. When the body is fragile, simple, predictable energy is useful. But when life is stable and food is everywhere, that same simplicity becomes a problem. So now we know this much. Crackers weren't made to harm anyone. They were made to endure. But endurance in food comes with a cost when context changes. And this leads to the most uncomfortable part of the story. If crackers are so simple, so boring, so quiet, why do people keep eating them in huge quantities? Why do they show up in every culture? Why do they feel safe even when they're not satisfying? The answer isn't in the stomach. It's in the brain. To understand why crackers quietly took over the world, you have to look at behavior, not ingredients. Crackers don't win because they taste amazing. They win because they fit everywhere. They fit into bags, drawers, offices, hospitals, schools, emergency kits. They don't melt, they don't rot, they don't smell, they don't demand attention, and that makes them dangerous in a very modern way. The human brain is bad at tracking small, repeatable actions. 1 cracker feels meaningless. 2 feel harmless. A handful feels normal. There's no strong flavor peak, no heaviness, no chewing resistance to slow you down. Each bite is tiny, fast, and forgettable. And forgettable food is the easiest food to overeat. Not because it tastes incredible, but because it never triggers a stopping signal. This is where crackers outperform snacks that seem more addictive. Candy is intense. Chips are loud. Soda is obvious. Crackers are silent. They slide under the radar. They're eaten while working, driving, studying, watching screens. Your attention is elsewhere, and the body learns the pattern. Calories arrive without effort, without focus, without pause. That pattern matters more than nutrition labels, because the brain doesn't remember what you plan to eat. It remembers what you did. And crackers train the brain to expect energy without engagement. Fast, clean, quiet, repeatable. This is why crackers appear in every culture, even where flavors differ. Rice crackers, wheat crackers, corn crackers. The base changes, but the logic stays the same. Dry, thin, durable, predictable. The form survives because the form works. And here's the shock most people don't expect. Crackers are often recommended as safe food for weak stomachs, stress, illness, or recovery. Not because they're nourishing, but because they're gentle. They don't challenge digestion. They don't demand effort, and that gentleness creates trust. But trust without awareness is how habits form. Crackers feel neutral, so people don't respect them. They don't plan portions. They don't count servings. They don't notice frequency. The brain categorizes crackers as background noise, and background calories are the hardest to control. This is why crackers show up in weight gain stories without anyone remembering eating them. They don't feel like meals. They don't feel like treats. They feel like nothing, and nothing adds up fast. So, when people argue whether crackers are healthy or unhealthy, they're missing the deeper point. Crackers are context-sensitive food. In scarcity, they're brilliant. In emergencies, they're reliable. In modern abundance, they quietly encourage overconsumption without satisfaction. Crackers don't make you crave more because they taste good. They make you crave more because they don't finish the job. They give energy without closure, and the brain hates unfinished loops. By now, one thing should be clear. Crackers are not villains. They are extremely successful at doing what they were designed to do. The problem is that the world changed, but the design didn't. And that leaves one final question. If crackers aren't poison, and they aren't fake food, how do you use them without letting them turn into invisible habits? How do you eat them without losing control? That answer is simple, uncomfortable, and very practical. So here's the truth most people never hear. Crackers are not dangerous because they exist. They're dangerous because they're invisible. They don't announce themselves as junk food. They don't feel indulgent. They don't trigger guilt. And that's exactly why they slip into daily life so easily. Crackers were designed to solve a problem that no longer exists for most people. The problem of food not lasting. The problem of uncertainty. The problem of not knowing when you'll eat again. In that context, crackers are genius. Dry, durable, predictable fuel that waits patiently. But in a world of constant access, that same design quietly works against you. The real danger of crackers isn't starch. It isn't salt. It isn't additives. It's the lack of resistance. Crackers don't slow you down. They don't ask you to focus. They don't demand intention. And food that doesn't demand intention becomes automatic. So if you want to eat crackers without letting them control the pattern, the solution isn't fear. It's structure. Never eat crackers alone. Pair them with protein or fat, something that forces digestion to slow down. Never eat them straight from the box. The box removes limits. Use a plate. The brain needs visible boundaries, and never eat crackers while distracted. Screens turn snacks into habits. Thicker crackers are better than thin ones. Thicker means more chewing, more time, more awareness. Crackers with seeds, fiber, or whole grains don't magically fix the problem, but they add friction. And friction is what crackers are missing. Most importantly, stop treating crackers as food replacement. They were never meant to be meals. They are support food. Emergency food, bridge food. The moment they replace real meals regularly, the system breaks. Crackers are not poison. They are not fake. They are not useless. They are context-dependent. In the right moment, they're helpful. In the wrong routine, they quietly train the body to accept energy without satisfaction. So the next time you reach for crackers, pause for 1 second. Ask yourself a simple question. Am I hungry? Or am I just filling space? Because crackers are excellent at filling space and terrible at finishing hunger. Now tell me in the comments, do you eat crackers on purpose? Or do they just appear in your day without you noticing? Be honest, because once you see how something so boring can shape behavior, you don't unsee it. And that awareness is the real takeaway.